Welcome to Naval News here at the IODS 2024. It is the last day of the show, a wrap-up for Naval News as well. As you will note, Xavier Vavasseur is not here today. He had to leave a bit early, flying out back to Europe. Instead, you have us, Ben Felton with me, and I am Alex Luck. We are the Naval News local contributors, if you will. We started at HMS Sterling. We visited the naval base. That was actually one day before the show. My first visit to a naval base in Australia, which I found very interesting. Obviously, Fleet Base West is the major naval base for Australia and will have a significant role going forward for AUKUS. And of course, the three Navy chiefs were there attending together, framing obviously the conference in terms of AUKUS. Ben, you attended the conference for us as well. What were your thoughts on the chiefs and remarks there?
Yeah, so at the conference side of the show, we had two panels with the three chiefs of Navy. So we had the First Sea Lord, the Chief of Naval Operations, and the Chief of Navy. And I think the most interesting comments I saw at the conference was from the First Sea Lord, who spoke about the future SSN AUKUS submarines being jointly crewed by Australian and British submariners. And I haven't heard anything like that before, so I thought that was very interesting. And he didn't say it would happen, he said he thought it was likely and it would probably happen, but it was still very interesting to me.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think AUKUS is probably a big theme of the show overall. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, it was a big theme, I think, for the conferences and also on the floor where I was, it was a bit of less of a theme compared to Tier 2 to the frigates. The frigate program for Australia, the 11 new general-purpose frigates, I think there were a significant element on the floor in terms of exhibitions. We had the out of 5 builders that are showing exemplars for the program, we had 4 on the floor. Japan, very impressive show there, I think, with the upgraded Mogami. We had Hanwha and Navantia both making strong displays as well, and Hyundai was a little bit of an odd one, wasn't it? What do you think about that?
I think Hyundai's approach was kind of reflective of the Australian government's approach. So instead of a stand, they had a box. And I mean, I think that just tells you a lot about the program overall. So Alex, what can you tell me about the Naval Strike Missile at this conference?
Yes, speaking of capability that goes onto the general purpose frigates, Naval Strike Missile was sort of lingered over the show because at RIMPAC, the Australian destroyer fired the first naval missile and also an American destroyer. And the missile actually made an appearance sort of here at the show as well, with the Japanese revealing for the first time they are considering integration of NSM also on the Japanese frigates, which will have implications obviously for the Australian requirement, because I think that will look quite favorable if they do that. So what are your thoughts about that?
It's very interesting. The Chief of Navy, Vice Admiral Mark Hammond, was speaking at the conference section of the show, and he was speaking about how quickly the Australian Navy, the Royal Australian Navy, I should say, has actually gotten the Naval Strike Missile onto its combatants. And he was pointing out that, in January 2023, they signed a contract with Kongsberg to integrate the NSM, and in July 2024, just over a year and a bit later, they had their first test firing. And by Australian standards, I think honestly, international Navy standards, that is very, very quick. And he was talking about how impressed he was by that and how really it was enabled by the interoperability, interchangeability that Australia has with the US Navy. And he said that to the Chief of Naval Operations. So, Alex, do you have any other observations you'd like to mention?
What I noticed on the floor was, as I said, Tier 2 was a sort of a theme. What was not a theme at all were drones. I mean, there were drones obviously on the floor. However, I noticed Anduril was missing. The Ghost Shark drone, which, was pretty important for Australia, was totally absent here. There was no talk about it or presentations. I thought that was surprising. And another absence, I should say, also from the Tier 2 is TKMS. The fifth bidder was not to be seen on the floor. There was TKMS personnel around, officials, and there were talks, I'm sure. But again, on the floor, not visible at all, which surprised me. Also we should mention, considering NSM as being such a rapid program, we had a sort of a slow program also announced. Ben, tell us a bit more about that.
So we started the week visiting Austal's shipyard in Henderson, and while we were there, the Minister for Defence Industry announced that Austal will officially be building 18 medium landing craft for the Australian Army. Now, when you say medium landing craft, you might think of something small, but these are not small, are they, Alex? They're nearly 60 metres long. Now, the reason that's so different to the NSM program is NSM has gone from contract to implementation in 1 year. This program hasn't even gone to contract in almost 2 years. So the program's been ongoing for a long time. It was paused for the Defence Strategic Review, and then we had the selection of Burden and Austal as the preferred build and design partners last year, and only now has it been formally approved by government. And I think, that's kind of contrasting how different programs move, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
So what are your overall thoughts from the show? Anything you'd like to add?
I would say I didn't quite know what to expect when I came here because it is a smaller event compared to, let's say, Indopac in Sydney. That being said, I was pleasantly surprised about the information we did get, and some absentees surprised me as well, but just by not being here. That being said, it was a good event. I was glad to be here, and I think you feel the same. So I think, we're going home with quite some new information to take in. Ben?
That's about all from us at the Indian Ocean Defence and Security Conference. Thanks for watching and following along, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future with Saviour.